guy that's out there, in my opinion, as far as keeping up with that facility, does a really good job, and it looks really good out there, more than past years, I think they've done a
What
really
is
good
the
job.
reason for the overtime?
I'm sorry?
Why is the reason for the overtime?
He has them working on Saturdays, and then we also call him in to do other tasks that are not, I wanna say his hours, I wish he was here. We do call him in other than his work hours to come and do work for us. So he's also helping us with our water, our tanks, and keeping all that maintained. So he does cutting all the grass, he does all that for all of that, and the transfer station. He's a handy guy, he's a handy guy.
He is, and I don't know if y'all have been out there,
Yeah.
you have, but it looks amazing.
Yes.
Before, there was just trash everywhere, the weeds on the fence line were horrible, and he has it looking, it's like immaculate. And I mean, whenever you go and dump stuff, there was stuff just all over the concrete there, and I mean, even that looks great.
He's done a good job. The guy has done, he does a good job the past year or two. He's made a big difference, and we just, quite frankly, we leave him alone. We let him do his job, and he just prefers just to stay out there, keep everything cleaned, and he does charges customers, and that part of it, I'll be honest with you, to me is like, he charges customers, but I wish he would charge more, but that's just maybe just me.
Well, I have a question on that, because I know my experience, I've taken bigger items and stuff that was less, and then I've taken like one or two small items and it's cost more, so I know I brought that to your attention. Do we have a set pay or
No,
amount?
what we do have a set pay
varies.
amount. My preference is to have scales out there, then I could really charge it.
Make it fair and equal,
Just make sure we back charge her for what?
that's
Yes.
fine, just be fair with everybody, because it doesn't make sense.
I think on that, there is a by trailer, there is a load amount, but like any other, if it was a true transfer station, you charge by the ton, and then I'd probably get complaints the other way. But yes, to answer your question.
Don't we, I thought I had that wrong, don't we go by City Hall first and you pay there and take a receipt over?
No, he.
No,
I
because
think
you need
he's-
to be over there, they're not gonna see what you're taking over there, so
Yeah,
that
it's
doesn't make
kind of
sense.
like, so I think we accept one method of payment, or we get paid by check, is that right, Tiffany?
He doesn't accept cash.
But it's just all checks, so it's all checks, it's accepted, yes. So that's what we have there.
Why don't we get him a little square, that way he can charge credit card.
Yeah, we, on that end, it is easier said than done. We are working on that.
That little kiosk, whatever they're called.
Nobody has checks anymore for us.
Good check.
All right,
I
okay,
have
any
like
other,
one
all right,
for the
council,
whole year, I don't.
we're trying to roll along, good job, Councilman Fred, any other questions
vacancies.
for our city manager on the city collection station?
There's no vacancies. So
Victor has a little spiel here about his staff there that's doing the work,
there's no vacancies. There's no vacancies.
and there are no vacancies. We'll
No.
go ahead in a minute. Wish list
You
items.
passed up your wish list?
Okay, go ahead. He has, Hector changes his mind, so we're gonna go ahead and, he has that map marked out for a quote for a bumper pull dump trailer. So I think y'all had some pretty good conversations about the truck that he was requesting as well. The last meeting, he's asking also for a jetting machine there, $71,000. You go to the next page. That little machine, that little contraption costs $15,000. But it's needed, but it's something the gas department needs. Is Ruby here? Ruby is not here either. Wow, good.
Someone on Timu that was a lot less.
Well, that's a
Let's keep it
request.
going.
We'll keep at it. It's needed, I'm sure. So, next one, Crystal. Well, have any questions about his wish list? Any questions?
So again, keep in mind, council, this is Fred proposed, that this is again, just, it's not etched in stone, but it's getting really close. And so you guys were given, be sure, take this home and study it. And the next time, we're not gonna go really over line item by line item, but if you have questions, that's where staff wants to hear your questions. And there, Fred's gonna be, and staff's gonna be making a few more adjustments to it to get it just fine tuned, but study it because there will be a quiz. Alright,
And what's the reward for
Well,
getting
you're a
100?
teacher now?
I'll let Bobby put that together.
Can we propose, does anybody wanna get,
Alright, what's next? Do we go back to, alright, so council, look back on your agenda, now that we've gone over the proposals, we're gonna go back to item 7E, regarding the tax rate, so with that, move there, it'll be 7E, these are action items.
Mayor, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Y'all, he wants to go over this handout, so do that real quick.
It'll all affect that.
Yeah. This is the 24-25 fiscal year proposed budget, Fred?
My slides are normally not but 5 slides, but this had to be a little bit longer. And bear with me here. This is the proposed budget, and now that you've heard from all of the department heads and what we asked them to prepare, when this was, with all of the requests and everything that was put in, we were about $1.4 million over budget, revenues to expenses. So this, all the requests that you had, we had already plugged those in, and that's what we were, so our revenues were short about $1.4 million. So what you have are some of the changes. What this is here, and what this is here is explaining what is being included and what was not included or is not being proposed to be included. So we had to find a way to cut based on like anything else. We can only generate so much money and we can't fund everything. So I think hopefully the council understands that that's what happens. It's limited resources. You work with what you have, or the other option is to raise taxes and utility rates and everything else, which I know is a challenge sometimes. So we're gonna go over this. What I want to share with you on some of this is the I'm gonna go over with you some of the things that were put in here on the revenue side to come up with projections and how those happen, okay? So what we have seen property values go up, as I mentioned, for the past 3 or 4 years. The average taxable value for the homes has gone up also to $73,000. And so this, when we're talking about these values, we're talking about your property taxes and how much it's gonna be. That's what it boils down to. Between your values and what the tax rate is, that's how you determine, for the most part, how much you're gonna pay in taxes. So, your average home, stick-built home, is about $73,000. That's what an average home is valued at here in Pearsall. Your mobile homes are valued at about $30,000, so less than half of is what a mobile home here in Pearsall is averaged as far as their value. We had an increase this year, about $28 million that was added in value. Of that $28 million, we'd like to think that, again, I think the city council and city staff hopefully will take a little credit for this. You added about $4.3 million of new value. So that means new businesses, new improvements that were made, that were brought in and put in the tax roll. So that's what you find. The assumptions that were made here, we've also looked at sales tax. So sales tax last year was about $3 million. And that was a really good year as far as sales tax and what we received in the form of sales tax. What I wanted to share with you guys is our lowest year when I was here, this was during COVID, that was 2019, 2020, what we collected in sales tax was a little over $2 million, which is $1 million less than what we collected last year. That's how serious COVID was, and it was a bad year for us for sales tax and a lot of other stuff. I want to go over some things that hopefully you'll find interesting and kind of give you an idea of what we look at, what I look at when we're talking about projections as it relates to sales tax, property tax. So we go to the next slide, Crystal. This is information that you have, that again, this is what our collections have been the past 5 years with sales tax. In 2019, 2020, we were a little over $2 million. 2021 was 2.1, 2022 is 2.4. Last year was $3 million, and 2023, as of May, so you still have the months of June, July, August, and September, you were at $2 million. So we anticipate hitting $3 million again this year for collections. Again, they've been good years. We think they're gonna continue, so we made that projection as far as a $3 million, sales tax projection for the budget for this year. Go ahead. I thought was really, really interesting. This is industries that are here in Pearsall and how they contribute to your sales tax. So if you look at this chart here, what I have, your machinery, your manufacturing, that's what's contributing, your biggest contributor of sales tax. So when you look at that trend, and you look at May of 2023, you can see the contributions. They're contributing about $400,000 of sales tax. So again, this shows you all of the payers, if you will, of sales tax. And we can break it down by what groups and the actual taxpayers and how much they pay to sales tax to the city. So if you ever want to look at that information, we can share that with you if you're ever interested. The next one is, I want you to go to the next slide, Crystal.
Fred,
This-
real quick, on that last slide that you had up there?
Yes, yes, sir.
So we see that machinery and manufacturing has had a pretty much consistent increase since 2021
Yes, sir.
and kind of steadied off at 2023
Yep.
and continued to 2024.
Yep.
Now, you could specifically narrow down which is the one that's bringing us majority of that revenue.
Yes, yes.
Now, knowing those numbers, what have we, as a city, come or have thought about bringing more of that industry to the city, as we can see that it brings quite a bit of revenue?
It's a good question. Part of what we as a city, in my opinion, need to work on, and we should need is our zoning and subdivision. I'm gonna get to that. We have areas out in the UPJ primarily that we have, and what I believe is gonna be something the council to think about, but my recommendation to the council is, as you extend utilities, and you're looking for industries like that are looking for water, sewer, that, similar to what this group did about, I believe in 2014, I don't wanna mention the name, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Those are the industries, but you have to zone that area industrial. You take consideration to zone the area on Business 35 as you're looking at this in future planning, to know if that's the kind of development we wanna bring in and what we're looking at, we have to give them that latitude to be able to develop those types of industries out in that corridor. Now, there's other corridors, don't get me wrong, there's other corridors, you have 1581, you have other areas that you could do something with. I think in the city limits, it'd be kind of constrained, right? You might find certain areas. But I think as a council, I think you're able to see the areas that are developing as commercial, industrial. You still have some hodgepodge areas of I'm not sure what something may develop into. But that's one of the things that we need to market that land and help whoever's trying to sell that to make sure they know that we have these things coming. That would be my suggestion. Any thoughts?
The only other thing that I could say also is, as we look at, as we're in the middle of budget, that, we've been talking about the operational part of it, the, salary part of it, but we really haven't thrown out, are those areas where we can really take a look at it 2-3 times and say, you know what, as we're moving forward we're moving in the right direction, I would say.
Yes.
We have a lot of development coming through, but, can we pause certain areas for at least for certain years to say, you know what, let's take a look at and really focus on development part of it, the economic development. And when we look at, when I'm looking at numbers as far as salary wise and operationals, I think there's areas where we can really be tighter in to say, you know what, let's really, I think we're okay. But let's look at development so that we can get these areas where we should be later on possibly.
I think those are good points, and part of what I'm gonna discuss with you tonight will be some of that. So with that, yes, there are things that we need to do better. Analysis is one of them. With that, the other part I would say is Councilman Miliar was asking was, The other thing is also understanding what other entities aside from the city have to offer. So for instance, if we have a development that's not necessarily in city limits, but is in our ETJ, what incentives does the county have? Do you have economic development incentives? That we can say, we'll provide the utilities, but do you have the incentives, does the county have the incentives to say, we have, the county can also do chapter 381 agreements, they can be TERS, and I'm sure Bobby can help us out with other things that they can also provide, but there has to be those incentives. I would venture to say, for just, you know, again, things that may not be in the city limits, but we still have to provide utilities. They come to us primarily, not because they wanna just meet me, which I know would be great, but no, that's not why. They come to us for utilities, even with areas that are outside the city limits. In the ETJ, everybody's really looking for utilities. They don't come for any other reason other than that. So in my opinion, what we need to do is make sure that the county and other entities, but primarily the county, there's some sort of, hey, these are the incentives that we have as a county, and yes, we'd love to do business with them. And we on our end, help them with, you know, utilities. And is there a way we can find a way to extend utilities and not take a huge drastic hit? But those would be my suggestions.
If I could just, council, you guys know we're having an economic development forum, kind of an I-35 forum in August the 12th, Monday at the G2 Ranch. I think you all got the invitation, so please come. It's during the day, get off if you can. EMC's putting it on, and Congressman Gonzalez is gonna be here. We are inviting the mayors up and down I-35 and all the county judges that touch. And after the meeting, we're gonna get a consortium. You guys are familiar with Go Medina, which I was talking to the mayor in Natalia, and that organization has been amazing about bringing development to Medina County. And so if we can get a consortium of local mayors and judges to be a bigger voice along these things. Mayor Pro Tem, your comments about what can we do to put us on the map. So we're doing things that we're gonna try to help to do that. So this will be a good step in the right direction. And then we're gonna try to do things to localize, you know, get a consortium together to try to do things like some of these other counties that are doing that are successful. My eye is on, when you go to Houston from San Antonio, and the east side of San Antonio and the west side of Houston, they have these 10, 15 acre buildings, just 20 or 30 of them there, and I'm like, why can't we have 2 or 3 of those in Pearsall? You know, manufacturing, warehousing, land is cheap, we got plenty of water, our sewer system's big enough, we got land. So anyway, we're working on that, but it is a focus that we as a council need to continue on, and I know it's on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And that's exactly the message that I would say, this is the perfect timing to release that information and say, you know what, we're not only talking about, money or budget that's on the, like I said, the operational and other areas. This is what we're looking at. We're also focusing on development so that and that's what the community wants to hear
Yes.
and move, you know, that we're actually moving and predicting to this as we, 2 to 5 years. We have a perfect example. It's that the sports complex that we've been throwing out there. We haven't discussed that on here at all. Any movement on that end of it, you know, besides grant money, but I mean, I think that since we've delivered that message out to the community, I think their expectations are gonna say, well, what is gonna happen with that? Are we just gonna sit on it, or what's the deal on it? So I think that's what we need to really focus when it comes to budget, not just number ones.
Council, anything else, Fred?
Yeah, I've got plenty, man.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just getting started, I'm warming
Okay,
up.
sorry.
I'm warming up right now. Crystal, part of what we talked about was part of our, and what I'm focusing on is the big revenue generators, things that are generating revenue for the city and the expenses, right? I mean, I could go and talk to you about office supplies all day, janitorial supplies all day, everything else. But what I want you to know, what I'm suggesting to you is there's things that we really need to look at when we talk about the big picture, right? So when we talk about folks that pay into hotel occupancy tax, you have one payer right there that pays into hotel tax.
Thank you.
He's asking, what are we doing with his money? Maybe not in those words, but that's part of the, should be part of the ask, right? So we generate about $350,000 annually with hotel tax. With that, as you know, and I'll go over in a minute what all that entails, we also anticipate, again, more permit fees, because we do anticipate more development. The TERS generates about $175,000, from the city and city coffers. And again, on that end, as y'all know, the county is participating in that. They've participated, I think they've contributed about $50,000 to that fund. We should have, at the end of this year, over $400 and something thousand in that fund. So it's not a huge amount of money, but there is money in that fund. Franchise fees, also generate about